My sister-in-law always mocked me for my education. No one takes a waitress seriously, she said loudly at every family dinner. My husband once told her, if you keep this up, you'll regret it. When her baby's shower cake, I wasn't invited, but I showed up anyway. Her face went pale when I handed her the gift box. So you're really going to do it? Callum asked, watching me tie the last piece of white ribbon around the gift box. I didn't look up from the bow. I'm not doing it to be petty. Callum rubbed the back of his neck and exhaled slowly. I know, I want to make sure you're okay after. You don't owe her anything. I'm not doing it for her, I said. I'm doing it for me. Callum nodded, stepped forward, and kissed the top of my head. Then I'll drive. I'm 36 years old, and I've lived in Asheville, North Carolina for most of my life. It's not a big city, but it's beautiful, all rolling hills and art galleries, small-town vibes and mountain air. I work as a waitress at a diner that's been here longer than I've been alive. It's not fancy. It doesn't need to be. It's honest work, and I take pride in how I do it. I met Callum there 8 years ago when he came in during a rainstorm, soaked to the bone and looking like a lost traveler. He was quiet, polite, and a terrible flirt once he got comfortable. We fell in love the slow way over daily grilled cheese lunches and late-night walks, and got married 2 years later. His family was fine. Not overly warm, but polite enough. His mother, Sheila, always looked like she was halfway through judging someone, but hadn't quite made up her mind yet. His dad, Lionel, rarely said anything beyond passing observations. But it was Bianca, his younger sister, who truly made an impression. Bianca was the golden child. With her tailored blazers, designer handbags, and business degree from Duke, she arrived at every gathering as though she were walking into a press conference. Everything was branded, her voice, her laugh, her disdain, especially when it came to me. It started small, the kind of comments you don't know whether to laugh off or swallow. So, still waitressing? She'd ask with a fake smile that didn't touch her eyes. That's cute. At least you're not out of work, right? Or, must be nice not having a boss. I'd go crazy without structure. The comments grew louder at every gathering. Bianca wasn't shy about performing her superiority, even in front of Callum's parents or mutual friends. Once, at Thanksgiving, when everyone went around the table saying what they were thankful for, she said, I'm thankful I didn't settle. Some people are happy with just surviving. Everyone knew she meant me. Callum defended me every time, but Bianca had a way of twisting the air in the room, acting like she was just being honest, like she was just teasing. As if humiliation was a game she got to play because she had the better resume. The worst part, I let her. For years, I told myself it wasn't worth the drama, that I'd rather be peaceful than right. But those comments chipped away at me slowly. They made me smaller in rooms I used to feel safe in. Then, one Christmas dinner, Callum lost it. Bianca had just made another jab about me, spending my life delivering hash browns instead of ambition. Callum set his fork down, looked right at her and said, if you keep this up, you'll regret it. No one spoke for a while after that. Even Bianca looked thrown off. Sheila awkwardly changed the subject. Lionel went back to chewing silently, but the message lingered. Fast forward to this year. Bianca and her husband, Julian, announced they were expecting their first child. Naturally, the whole family erupted in excitement. She started planning her baby shower almost immediately, Pinterest boards, a color scheme, everything. I waited for the invitation. I waited as RSVPs from extended family rolled in. And I waited as Callum asked Sheila, then Bianca, about whether we were expected to attend. The answer was always vague. Oh, it's mostly her friends, or there's limited space. I wasn't invited. Callum was livid. I wasn't surprised. That weekend, I saw Instagram posts of the shower, everything pink and gold, a brunch spread, champagne flutes and party favors. Everyone Bianca had ever smiled at was there, except me. I won't lie. I cried. Not because I wanted to be at the shower, but because I knew what it meant to be excluded like that. She wanted to make sure I understood my place. So I decided to go anyway, not out of revenge, not to make a scene, but because I had something I needed to give her. Bianca once shared, in a rare moment of vulnerability, that her grandmother used to sing her a lullaby in German. It was a song that made her feel safe. She only mentioned it once, but it stuck with me. Over the course of a few weeks, I found a rare vinyl of that exact lullaby. I tracked it down through a collector in Hamburg. I paid more than I probably should have, but it was worth it. I also found an old photo of Bianca and her grandmother, one Sheila had stored away in an album she forgot existed. I printed and framed it. Then I knit a baby blanket. Took me 3 weeks. Pale yellow, soft wool with the baby's initials embroidered in a corner. Lastly, I wrote a letter. Bianca, may your child feel the same peace you once felt. I know we've never seen eye to eye, but I wish you both nothing but love and comfort. Elena, I wrapped everything in a cream-colored box with a white ribbon. Then Callum and I drove to the shower. I arrived just as things were winding down. People were laughing, eating leftover pastries, taking selfies in front of a floral backdrop. I saw Bianca across the room. Her expression shifted the second she saw me. She didn't speak. I walked up, gently handed her the box and said, "Congratulations, I won't stay." She hesitated, took the box, and I walked away. Callum met me by the car. We drove in silence for a while. I felt light, not proud. Not smug, just at peace. I had done something kind, even when kindness hadn't been extended to me. That evening, Bianca texted Callum 2 words, "Thank you." A few days later, I got a handwritten card in the mail. "Elena, I owe you an apology. I've been cruel and I don't know why I ever thought that was okay. Your gift meant more to me than I can say. You didn't have to show up. You didn't have to be kind. But you were, I'm sorry." Bianca, I cried reading it. Not because I needed her forgiveness, but because I didn't realize how much I'd needed her to see me. Just once. Since then, things are different. We're not best friends, and I don't expect us to ever be. But she includes me now. At dinner, she listens. At family gatherings, she asks questions instead of making statements. She even sent me a picture of her newborn wrapped in the blanket I made. Sometimes, people need to be reminded that status doesn't make you better, empathy does. And sometimes, the loudest message you can send is the quietest one. A few weeks passed after the baby was born, and Bianca and I still hadn't had a real conversation. But there was a quiet thaw. At Easter brunch at Sheila's house, she offered me the seat next to her. No passive-aggressive signs, no raised eyebrows. She even asked how work was going, and not in the usual performative tone that meant she was really asking when I'd be getting a real job. I told her the truth. Same as always. Tips are better when tourists come in. The regulars still want their coffee black and their eggs over hard. She chuckled. A real one this time, not mocking, just amused. "I could never remember all those orders," she said. "I get flustered when Starbucks asks for my name." It wasn't much, but it was the first time she'd ever admitted I was better at something than her. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I smiled and took another sip of my tea. Callum, seated across from us, caught my eye, gave me a small nod. He'd noticed it too. The next week, I received a message from Bianca, not a text, an actual message request on Instagram. She sent me a photo of baby Leela, wrapped in the blanket I'd made, nestled in a bassinet, holding a small stuffed animal that hadn't been there before. "Just wanted you to see her today," she wrote. "She loves the blanket. Thank you again." That night, I lay awake next to Callum, staring at the ceiling fan turning above us. "Do you think she really means it?" I asked him. He turned toward me, his hand finding mine under the blanket. "I think she's trying, and that's more than she ever did before." I nodded. But deep down, I still had doubts. People like Bianca don't change overnight. They don't rewrite years of cruelty with one act of kindness. But it wasn't about trust at that point. It was about allowing room for growth. And if she was willing to try, then so was I. Callum's family dynamic shifted after that. Subtly, but meaningfully. Before, every gathering had tension coiled around it, like an invisible wire ready to snap if someone said the wrong thing. Bianca's jokes, Sheila's silent approval of them, Callum's quiet rage, my fake laugh. But now it feels more breathable. Sheila even started asking for my help in the kitchen, a place she used to guard like it was sacred ground. "You've got the restaurant rhythm," she said once. "Can't keep up with these recipes anymore." I wasn't sure if it was a compliment or a concession, but I took it anyway. What Bianca never understood until recently was that I didn't need a college degree or a LinkedIn profile to feel fulfilled. My life wasn't shiny, but it was mine. I made good food for good people. I went home to a husband who loved me for everything I was, and I went to sleep knowing I hadn't stepped on anyone to get there. That's more than some people with 6-figure salaries can say. Still, I noticed little things, moments where Bianca almost slipped back into her old self. Like the time Callum and I brought a pie to Sunday dinner, and she commented, "You made this," with surprise in her voice. Or when someone asked if I'd ever considered managing the diner, and she muttered, "I didn't know there was much to manage." Old habits die hard, but she corrected herself too, quicker each time. "Sorry, that came out wrong," she'd say. Or, "I didn't mean it like that." That was new. Bianca never used to apologize. She used to pretend she hadn't said what she said. Now she was starting to own it. I hadn't told many people about what really happened at the baby shower. Not even my closest friends. Not because I was hiding it, but because I didn't want their opinions clouding my own. I knew how it might sound. She didn't invite you, and you still gave her a gift. Why let her off the hook so easily? People like that don't change. But I wasn't trying to let her off the hook. I was just trying to set myself free from caring about what she thought of me. Besides, I hadn't given her an easy out. I'd handed her a mirror. And whether she liked the reflection or not, she was finally taking a longer look. Julian, Bianca's husband, reached out to Callum one weekend to ask if we wanted to come over for lunch. Just the four of us. That had never happened before. When Callum told me, I blinked. Lunch, like. Casual, that's what it sounds like. Not a trap, I half joked. Callum grinned. If it is, we'll bring wine and make it a classy one. We went. It was casual. Weirdly, normal. Bianca didn't mention work once. She asked how we met again, like she wanted to hear the full story. She laughed when Callum told her about the time I slipped on a tray of glasses and somehow still managed to take someone's order as I fell. Julian laughed, too. The baby slept in a carrier on Bianca's chest. After lunch, as we were leaving, Bianca pulled me aside. "Elena," she said quietly, "I meant what I wrote on the card. I was awful. And I'm not asking you to forgive all of it overnight, but I really am trying. You didn't deserve what I said all those years." I looked at her for a long time. The last time she'd said my name like that, it had been with poison. Now it was. "Softer, I know you're trying," I said, "and that matters." There was a silence between us, not awkward, just full. Then she added, "By the way, I told Julian I want to teach Leela that there's no real job, just real work. The kind that means something." I didn't respond. I just nodded and walked toward the car. But that sentence sat with me, still sits with me. People don't always show growth through grand gestures. Sometimes it's a small sentence in a doorway, a changed tone, a willingness to listen. I've always believed in giving people space to be better, even when they don't deserve it. Not because I'm noble or a pushover, but because bitterness corrodes from the inside out. Still, that doesn't mean the past doesn't exist. It's there, heavy sometimes, lingering in rooms we both walk into. I won't forget how she made me feel. How many dinners I walked away from biting my tongue. How many times I fought tears in a bathroom stall while pretending everything was fine. But I've stopped letting those moments define the story. And maybe, just maybe, Bianca has, too. Summer rolled around not long after that lunch, and with it came Callum's birthday. I decided to host it at our place. Just a small backyard gathering with some friends, his parents, Bianca and Julian, and a few neighbors from our block. We'd strung up fairy lights in the yard, grilled burgers, and I'd baked Callum's favorite, German chocolate cake with double frosting. Bianca arrived late, with Julian carrying baby Leela in one of those snug chest carriers. I didn't think much of it until I saw her carrying a familiar-looking box, white with a neat gold ribbon, similar to the one I'd used months ago. She placed it on the gift table and gave me a nod. Nothing dramatic, no speeches, just a knowing glance. It was a small thing, but I understood it instantly. Callum noticed too. "What do you think it is?" he asked me later, once people had finished eating and drifted into small conversations around the yard. "I'm not sure," I said, but I had a suspicion. Bianca didn't do anything halfway. Once the party quieted and most of the guests had gone home, Callum started opening his gifts. Socks, toolkits, a couple of funny t-shirts from friends. Then he got to the white box. Inside was a hardcover photo album, hand-bound. On the front was our wedding photo. One Bianca had taken herself years ago. A candid moment when Callum and I were laughing together under the oak tree behind my mom's house. Inside were dozens of printed photos from over the years, me and Callum, vacations, birthdays, ordinary days. Even one from the night he proposed in front of the diner after closing. Tucked at the back was a single envelope with a short note. I've spent too many years pretending I knew what mattered. Turns out I had no idea. You two remind me that love, real love, is built quietly. Sorry it took me so long to see that. Happy birthday, Callum. Callum was quiet for a while after reading it. Then he looked at me and smiled. That was unexpected. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, absorbing it all. That night, after we put everything away and the yard was quiet again, I went out to the back porch alone. Sat on the swing and watched the trees sway gently in the night breeze. It wasn't about the album. It wasn't about the blanket or the lullaby or the baby shower. It wasn't even about the years Bianca had spent trying to cut me down. It was about what came after. Because for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time when I thought about her. Not anger, not resentment, closure, and maybe a bit of quiet satisfaction. I didn't scream. I didn't get revenge in the explosive, dramatic way people think you need to in order to win. Instead, I outlasted her cruelty. I showed her what dignity looks like. I showed her that kindness isn't weakness, and that being underestimated doesn't mean being powerless. Bianca hadn't changed overnight, but she had changed. And not because I demanded it, but because she'd finally been confronted with something she couldn't argue with. My decency, my resilience, my refusal to play by her rules. In the end, the best revenge wasn't a confrontation. It wasn't public humiliation. It was living well and letting her watch. Because people like Bianca don't expect the people they mock to rise. They expect them to break. But I didn't. I stayed standing. And that, in the end, said everything.